Hello, everybody. Welcome to Tangent Podcast. This is your boy, Jack. I need a nap.
I feel that. I feel that for sure.
All right. Well, let's crack open these beverages. How about?
I have not had a Red Bull in so long, and I've only drank Red Bull probably 2 or 3 times.
Really? I love Red Bull, but I don't think I've ever had a sugar-free Red Bull, so this is actually a new experience for me. Red Bull tastes like Smarties, and I love it.
I remember it having a funky aftertaste.
Kind of smells like Monster.
It does. Ooh, it's pretty good, though.
That's not bad.
It's not, like, great. It's not my favorite, but it's good.
Yeah, I think regular Red Bull's better. And that makes sense, because, you know, sugar is great.
What's the sweetener they use in here? It's probably sucralose, I'd guess. Aspartame. I think that one's worse.
Probably, yeah. Well. Not my favorite, but...
I give it like a 6 out of 10.
Yeah, I was going to say 6.
I'll have to try
6.5.
real Red Bull again. They have tons of flavors that I didn't know they had.
They're like extra flavors. Their colored ones are actually really good. Like, I hate coconut, but their coconut berry one, it's white, is phenomenal. They have an amber one that's pretty good. Don't love the tangerine one, but it's all right. But there's a lot now.
That's cool. Yeah, I'll have to try the hard stuff, I guess, the sugar.
Oh, yeah.
Sugar. My only problem with it is it's a smaller can for the same or more money.
It's a little insane. I agree. I only get them when they're on sale for like a 3 for $6 or something like that.
Yeah, so that's why I've never drank it. I just can't justify spending that much for that small of a can. But
yeah, I agree.
Maybe I'll try it soon.
Monster's still the king overall, if you ask me.
Yep. Yeah, me too. I like some rock stars, but I've also had some terrible ones. And
same. I've never had a Monster I like really, really disliked to the point where I didn't even finish it. I have with Rockstar, and I have with Red Bull, and many, many times with Bang.
And some Reigns too. Most Reigns are pretty good, but yeah. And then I guess we'll find out with Bucked Up.
Bucked Up's been a really good middle of the road. Like, it's not amazing, but it's good. Like every time so far. Yeah. So we'll see if that continues. But I have a sour gummy worm one that I'm excited to try.
I do want to try that. Didn't we drink a sour gummy worm? There was another.
Yeah, it was
like 7-Eleven's. Yeah, Ray's. That's the one. Are they still a thing? They only sell them at 7-Eleven, don't they?
I have no idea.
Ray's still Energy. A thing.
Repsports.com.
I remember them only being sold at 7-Eleven. And I don't have a 7-Eleven here, so.
Oh, sad. Let's see. Ooh, ginger ale flavor. Tea.
Rainbow flavor, apparently.
Blue Shock, rainbow, and white peach. Ooh, I gotta try that one. Oh, they have so many. I love peach flavored things, yeah. Anything Peachio flavored.
Holy cow.
Yeah, they got Apollo, Voodoo, Guava, Mango, Strawberry Colada, Sour Gummy Worm. There it is.
So I've tried the Sour Gummy Worm. I've tried the Baja Lime. That one's pretty good. I've tried the... where is it? I just barely saw it. Galaxy Burst.
Pretty sure we tried the Galaxy Burst.
I think those are the only 3 I've ever tried, but they were pretty good though.
They're all sugar-free.
Well, next time I'm by a 7-Eleven, I'll have to pick some of those up.
Gander. Cool. Well, let's move on. What do we got in the news of the outer spaces?
So this one's kind of fun. The James Webb Telescope has spotted evidence of hidden planets. So there's a star that's fairly close. It's 25 light years away, and it's called Fomalhaut. I think is how you say it. So Fomalhaut. I think it's German or something. So we've known about Fomalhaut since before so I think we've known about Fomalhaut for a long time, the star itself, but in the 80s they discovered like a disk of dust around it, and They just thought it was dust. And now they've discovered that there's 3 separate rings of dust and kind of like rock, like asteroid belts around this star.
Neat.
And they extend out 14 billion miles from the star.
Oh my
which
word.
is 150 times the distance of the Earth from the sun. So that's how far out these 3 rings are spaced from this star. And so recently they've been looking at it with the Webb telescope, and they just saw the 2 inner belts. So previously they just thought there was one, but now they found 2 separate inner belts, so they can tell that they're kind of divided. And now they can tell that the belts are being controlled, or like basically the belts are formed by some type of gravitational force. So that's what's shaping the belts or the rings of dust. Uh-huh. And so they've basically said they believe there's 2 hidden planets next to the star within those belts that are basically causing that gravitational force along with this star to form these belts. But they said it's similar to what we've seen like in our solar system as well. Kind of like with the main asteroid belt and the Kuiper belt in our solar system. And so it could be possible that there could be planets there that could support life, especially with them being, up to 150 times our distance from the sun away from this star. They could be in that like Goldilocks zone of being right near this star enough to where they could have life. So that's kind of cool.
Neat.
But yeah, two hidden planets. I don't know that they've actually seen the planets, but they've seen evidence that they're there. And that's kind of what they believe is causing that gravitational force. So pretty cool.
That is very cool. Space is neat. I love space.
It is. Yeah. I'm excited for the coming years when Big Daddy Elon tries to take us to Mars, and
oh yeah,
it'll be fun.
I saw something online that somebody had posted saying basically like I was born at the wrong time because it's too late to explore the Earth and it's too early to explore space kind of thing. Yeah. It's just like, dang it, you're right.
I always think like, I always ask people the question, like if you could go back to any time period, like what time period would you go back to? And I would go back to the days of like Lewis and Clark, like exploring the West and
discovering continents and whatnot.
Or like the Pilgrims, like let's get in a boat and sail to some land that we don't really even know if it's there, but let's just go and start a whole new life and explore. Like it would suck, but I think it'd be cool to like be an explorer.
Right. That'd be amazing. Good old Magellan.
That is interesting though, that there's all this talk of going to space and now Bezos and everyone is trying to do it. And we're just like, wait until it becomes
mainstream,
fiscally achievable. Yeah. Someday.
Alrighty.
Someday.
Well, would you like to hear a spooky story of a paranormal encounter?
Oh, you bet I would.
Alrighty. This one is titled.
Let me interrupt you real quick. Sorry.
Right, interrupt, please.
We missed. So this is in honor of National Paranormal Day, which was last Wednesday, I believe, May 3rd. So if you have any spooky stories from National Paranormal Day, send them in.
Oh, yeah. Look at that. May 3rd is National Paranormal Day.
All right, proceed.
Good to know. This one is titled... Where'd it go? There it is. This Tale of Lost Time.
Ooh.
And it goes... When I was 7 or 8, I was at my grandmother's house for Christmas and played hide and seek with some of my cousins. Most of us were staying the night, but for some reason, no one ever stayed in the 4th bedroom. It was about 8 p.m. and my turn to count. So I went to the 4th room to do so. I sat on the bed, closed my eyes, and counted to 20. When I opened my eyes, it was lights out. I had closed my eyes at night, counted... Whoa. Sorry, I'm reading this for the first time too, and it's confusing me. When I opened my eyes, it was lights out. I had closed my eyes at night, counted to 20, and somehow 12 hours had passed. What? Oh, sorry, lights out. It was light outside when he opened his eyes. That's what I meant to say. Of course, the immediate thought was that maybe I had just fell asleep. I refute that with 3 points. First, why didn't my cousins come and get me when I failed to sink them out? Second, it was cold in that house. We would sleep multiple people to a bed under several blankets, at least one of which was usually electric. I can't imagine sleeping through the night in that kind of cold without some kind of covering. And third, there's no way my parents wouldn't have bothered to come find me before they went to sleep. And when they did find me, they wouldn't have left me there, especially without a blanket. I can't tell you what happened. Maybe I had some sort of strange memory lapse that just happened to begin and end in the same location. Maybe the simulation lagged. Maybe I really did skip 12 hours. All I can say for sure is that something happened that night, and I've never been able to explain it.
Huh. Missing time is one of the weirdest phenomenons to me, and I think we need to do a complete episode on it.
I think we did.
Well, we did time travel.
No, I know for a fact we did missing time.
Did we?
I'm 65% sure.
Huh.
I think Ryan was in charge of that episode, if that helps.
Okay. Oh, we did do missing time. You're right.
I knew it.
Wow. Okay. Your memory is way better than mine. That was about a year ago. Just over a year ago. Crazy.
We can always do part 2s. I'm happy to revisit anything we've ever done. Missing Time Part 2 sounds like a good time to me.
Man, I'm gonna have to go back and listen to that because I have no recollection of doing that episode. Every other one I can remember pretty well, but that's crazy. Okay. What's your theory on missing time?
I don't know, man. I don't know. I know the biggest thing that calls to me is aliens.
Yeah,
but that's almost like when you get abducted and they wipe your memory and put you back in the same spot. I think that's the biggest culprit of these things, what most people think. But I don't know. I think it's something different. I can't tell you what though. I want to say something along the lines of like sleep paralysis kind of thing, but maybe the opposite. You don't know that you are asleep. Not saying they just fell asleep, but maybe something caused them to. I don't know.
It is strange though in that one where like his family didn't come find him or whatever. Like if he had people that were expecting him to go to sleep or be around or something that like he didn't mention if they said anything to him later, like where were you the last 12 hours?
That's what I wanted. That's what I wanted to hear, and that is I want to hear the cousins like after like 30 minutes we gave up and came that's what I would have done if that was me going after 20-30 minutes. I'd be like, all right, I don't think he's coming. Well, let's go see if he's okay or what's going on kind of thing.
Yeah. That if you were in that position, you would ask your cousin, when you finally see them, dude, it's been 12 hours. Where the heck have you been?
Why didn't you come get me? Where have I been? What's been going on? And who knows? Maybe they looked in that room and he wasn't there. And then maybe he left, or maybe he was asleep in there, and we went, oh well, he just fell asleep. We'll just keep playing without him.
Yeah,
I feel like that's a pretty important part of the story in order to come up with a theory.
I mean, the sleep thing is easy because, I get his points of maybe somebody would give him a blanket or something, but it's also if he's already asleep and they don't want to disturb him, just let him sleep.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. But I mean,
cool
missing
story,
time is not people claim it all the time, and
I tend to think of like you said, a glitch in the Matrix or a simulation. If you think of the multiverse theory, I've heard when people have weird encounters, it's another dimension, overlapping our dimension. Ooh. And so maybe he just kind of blipped between dimensions for a second. I don't know. But yeah, crazy story though, and I do want to revisit missing time.
I am more than happy to do that. That sounds like a good time to me.
Well, should we get to the topic at hand for the day?
Yeah, let's do it. The Voynich Manuscript. A relatively mild mystery, but one that has plagued historians for hundreds of years. Now, why has this picture book been labeled as the world's most mysterious book? Well, no one can figure out what it says.
The Voynich Manuscript. It's what it is it's a very old, illustrated and handwritten book, basically. Manuscript just means handwritten, like a script is a book. Mono means hand, so like handwritten and hand illustrated book. And so carbon dating has dated the book back to the early 15th century, so that would be somewhere between like 1400 to 1440. And it's written on what's called vellum, and that's basically just animal skin. So I believe they used goat skins and cow skins for this book. So mostly vellum was used because of the durability of animal skin. It's super durable. It's stretchable, so you can get a lot of pages out of it. It will last a long time. Obviously, like how many other books are around from 700 years ago or 600 years ago? And another thing with vellum is you can actually, it's like if you paint on it, you can, or like write on it, you can actually, it's thick and durable enough that if you make a mistake, you can actually scrape away the mistake and still have like a quality page left to basically redo your work. So the interesting thing with this book that I saw, this manuscript, is that they didn't see any evidence of that where they had gone back and like edited anything. So it's this mysterious book. The main thing about the book is that it's written in a language or a code that isn't tied to any other language in the world that we've been able to find, and no one's ever been able to decipher it. So we have absolutely no idea what the book says, and really no idea what this language is, right? If it's a real thing, if it's a bunch of nonsense, we have no idea.
And there are characters, there are words and spaces, and it's written in lines. It looks as if it would be its own language, and it just isn't any language that anyone knows.
Yeah, and they say that they can trace it back to like stylistic similarities to other things done in the Italian Renaissance. And so the Italian Renaissance was the 15th and 16th century. So it fits the time period of the carbon dating, 14 and 1500s. And so that's kind of where they're thinking it may have been written, was in Italy or around Italy when that Renaissance was happening. But the book itself is around 240 pages. There is some evidence and debate that some pages are missing or have been taken out. And some of the pages are foldable as well. So some of them are folded in half. They call them folios. So some of them are folded in half. Some of them are folded into like 6 folds. So there's basically all these foldable sheets of various sizes. So even if a sheet's folded to a size, you could fold it out and it could be like this massive sheet.
Like a centerfold in a magazine kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. And most of the pages on them have these really cool, diagrams and pictures. Some are colored, some aren't. So there is some color in there, paint. But there's a lot of different types of illustrations. So there's a lot of people and a lot of naked people, which, 14th, 15th century is like medieval times. That's not uncommon. I don't feel like it was weird back then to have like naked people. Like, look at all the statues from that time, And then there's a ton of plants, but what's weird is that supposedly the plants are mostly fictitious. And so
there's like one or two of them, they're like, could be plants that we know of today. It's just like, it kind of looks like this, but like 98% of them are like, what in the world is this plant? Like,
which, if you're looking at this in the 21st century and it's from the 15th century, so you're going over 600 years, there could have been a lot of turnover in plants, or like plants could have changed a lot.
Oh, yeah,
but
evolution, and some could have died off.
I mean, you'd think they'd be similar enough, though, to be like, oh, we can identify this and this and this. Like, I don't know. I don't feel like they'd change that much, but I guess it's possible. But then there's also like astrological symbols, that kind of stuff. And they kind of tie it to European or Western culture, because the fact that the text in the book or the characters in the book are aligned on the left side of the page. So like if you look at a page with writing on it, you'll see that all the lines of text are all lined up vertically on the left-hand side of the page. So that's how we would line things up in English. Whereas in other languages like Hebrew, Arabic, things like that, they read right to left. And so things are typically aligned on the right-hand side of the page. They can kind of tie this to a Western culture by saying, oh, everything is aligned on the left. So they say that it's supposed to be read left to right, but they can't read it. So like, who's to say,
Right.
It's kind of weird. But also like my argument against that is most of the pages I've seen, like the text is on the left-hand side of the page. And so like, you can't really go any further. Like it gets pretty close to the edge of the page. It's like, it's naturally kind of going to be aligned there, but I can see what they're saying there. And I think that does hold some weight, but yeah, they've tied it to kind of Western culture. The manuscript is named after a man named Wilfrid Voynich. He was born in what's now Lithuania. He's basically Polish-Lithuanian, and he was a rare book dealer. And so he was always dealing in these crazy books and manuscripts. And he purchased this in 1912. And then since 1969, it's been held at a library at Yale University. So it's I hope I pronounced this right, the Voynich Rare Book and Manuscript Library. So they have a ton of rare books there as well.
And speaking of which, sorry, let me interrupt you here. If you guys want to see what we're talking about, it is available fully online. If you Google just Voynich Manuscript online, first link should be from Yale. And it says Voynich Rare Book and Manuscript. Click on that. And then underneath the first image, hit View All Images. And then click on the cipher manuscript again. And there is the entirety in digital form. And you can flip through the pages and see what we're talking about on every single page. There are 224, so good luck. But it is a very fascinating thing to look at.
Yeah, it is really funky, and it's weird to look at it but not really be able to grasp anything. Like
the pictures are fun.
Yeah, the pictures are fun. And a lot of the pictures, like there's plants, there's like shapes that are shaped like reproductive systems in females and males. Like there's some weird things in there, but it does seem fairly like scientifically based, or I guess like based in principles of nature, I guess. If that makes sense, like a lot of natural things that we see in nature, plants and like human bodies, human reproductive systems and things like that.
So from what I've actually seen or read, people seem to think it's like an herbalist, medical, and hygiene kind of guide. Like, this plant is good for this, and this plant is good for this, and this is how you keep yourself clean, and that kind of stuff. But obviously, nobody actually knows, but that's what is, I think, the leading guess at this point.
Yeah, some type of like medicinal or pharmaceutical type approach to basically like a natural approach to medicine. Like, hey, this herb could help you with this. Or, hey, if you put all these herbs in a bathtub and take a bath, it'll do this for you. Like, yeah. And that makes sense. I mean, looking at the pages, I could definitely see that. It is weird how some of the pages are, it looks like a lot of the illustrations were done first. So if you look at a lot of the pages, the illustrations will go through the middle of the text.
And then they write the words like around it, or they'll go up to it and then skip over it and then start writing on the other side of the flower kind of thing.
So weird formatting, because like a lot of these pages, they could do that text in its own space. Like they have enough room, I feel like, to do it on the side, going down or something, but they chose to do a lot of interweaving between the text and the illustrations, which I find interesting. That I wonder if there's a purpose for that. In all my research, I never really found anyone that said they had a hypothesis on that. But
in my mind, it's pretty clear that they wanted the images to be, the main point of this book. They wanted to draw out what they were talking about and get it as best they could, and then write about it afterwards. I think they wanted to get the visuals across. Whatever the heck they are. I don't know. What are those testicles? Those might be testicles. I don't know what that is.
It is true that like most of the pages, if not all of them, the images are much more prominent than the text. The text is written really like small on a lot of pages. But the images are colorful. Like they're really big.
Do you have it pulled up by chance? The digital collection from Yale? Online version?
I don't. Let me pull it up real quick.
Because there are just a few that I think it'd be fun to talk about because they are very interesting.
Voynich Manuscript. Let's see. View all images. Is that?
Yeah, and then it'll take you to like a library page, and you just click on the link for it, and then it should bring up contents on the left side.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, and then go in the image of 213 at the top, type in 158 and hit go. And this is the one of the 6-part fold-out things. And it's like, it's pretty intense. Like, there's 9 circles, and they all seem connected in some way, but
the like detail on those,
it's pretty good.
Like handwriting that, oh my gosh! Like with a quill, because they hypothesized that this was written with like quill pens and like iron gall ink, like old school quill pens. So to do that with a quill pen, like that's insane.
Like, what am I looking at? Do you think these are like cities, or are these plants still, or like that middle one looks like they have buildings in the center.
It almost looks to me like a giant castle, like you're looking down on a castle. And you've got like towers, because if you look between them, like I'm looking in the top left where that like squiggly path is between the top and the middle left circles. And that to me looks like a wall. Like you've got like walls between towers.
Kind of looks like a moat almost. It looks like water.
Yeah.
Like on the other side, it looks like there's trees and mountains kind of looking stuff.
Yeah, I mean, that's my first thought. Like it's like a map of something. I don't know. It doesn't look like plants to me, really. It looks more like a structure, like a building. But
that's weird because like I feel like most of this book is plants. So how does this fit in?
It is if you go to 2 pages back, they have like a zoomed in, it looks like a zoomed in image of one of those, like a similar one. So it's, if you just go 2 back.
Oh yeah, it's similar. Oh, that one's got a moon with a face, so it's got something to do with astrology, probably.
Yeah, I mean there are a lot of like the astrological signs and like zodiac signs and everything.
If you zoom in on this writing, it like, I know this is gonna sound nerdy.
Oh no, I know what you're gonna say.
It looks exactly like Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings. Yeah.
No, has anybody tried translating it into Lord of the Rings languages? Yeah. Elvish?
It really does, though. Like that's
I don't know.
The first thing you think of when you look at it. And it is strange that, I mean, some of them look like some English letters, but it's pretty unique. It's
very unique. And it looks good. Like,
it does. Like, it's really well written.
It looks structured. It looks like they knew absolutely what they're doing. Their handwriting's better than mine, which I think, for being 700 years old, that's pretty good.
So one of the interesting things to me is the numbers. All the pages are numbered with conventional numbers.
Wait, really? Where?
Yeah, in the top left corner or top right corners of every page, there's page numbers up there.
No way. Oh my gosh, what the heck? There is.
So I looked into that a little bit because I thought that was interesting that the numbers were.
Did they add that in later, or is that?
That's one of the thoughts. So the book. So how the book is basically divided out. So again, these pages of vellum. I guess a little bit more about the book. So the vellum pages they've said are made out of calf skin, and then the covers are made out of goat skin, the front and back covers. But those covers they said weren't original to the book. Those were put on sometime around the time that the Collegio Romano had possession of the book, which, if I remember right, was 1700s, I believe. And so the original covers they theorized were actually made of wood because they can see insect holes on some of the pages, like some of the first and last pages, they can see insect holes. So they think there was a wooden cover, and then they think on the inside of that wooden cover they had like a tanned leather cover because they can tell by how discolored the pages are. But to make this book, at least these 240-ish pages, they said that it was made from at least 14 to 15 entire calfskins. So that's quite a lot, you know?
Yeah.
And the quality of the vellum, I guess, is pretty average, and like it's got some holes in it, it's got some tears. But if you look at these pages, for being 600 years old, they look pretty dang good. And that was one thing they said, like the quality of it was average, but it was actually prepared really well because usually you can tell which side of the page was like the flesh side and which side was the skin side or where the fur was.
Oh, yeah.
But on these, you can't. Like, they can't really tell. So the book is divided out into what are called quires, 18 quires, which is just a unit of measure for paper. So I believe a quire is 20 to 25 pages. And so it's divided out into 18 quires. I guess you could kind of think of those as chapters. But 240 pages, and yeah, they are numbered, on each corner. They said the weird thing, and this brings up what you were asking, is they said that the style of numbers that are written on the corners of the pages, that style of number originated after they think that the manuscript was written. So it's possible that somebody numbered those after they came in possession of it, which to me would make sense. I mean, the style of the writing looks similar with the numbers, but like it doesn't seem sensible to me that they'd write like normal numbers when they have everything else like shrouded in mystery. I don't know.
Here's something interesting. Have you learned anything about the horoscope part of it? Maybe not horoscope, but astrology.
A little bit. I didn't dive into it super deep.
That is something I found really interesting, and you can actually see it on page 132 if you type that in, if you care to see that. It's a big circle with many, many nude women. I'm not entirely sure why, and they're all holding stars of some kind. But in the dead center, there's a scale, like a justice scale, like Lady Justice, whatever. And people believe that says Octoberus right beneath it, which is very interesting because October, like horoscope wise, is what's it called? Libra, and Libra symbol is a scale. So
interesting.
That throws in astrology into the mix as well as to what this book might be about.
Well, I mean, it's about a lot of things, right? Because they have 112 of the folios or pages are herbal in nature or have plants. They've got around 20 to 21 that are either astronomical or astrological. So like we saw the one with the moon on it, sun, moon, stars, zodiac signs, constellations, things like that. There's balneological, which I don't know what that means.
I do not either.
I'm going to look it up real quick because let's see. Balneological is the science of therapeutic use of baths. So that is something common, is that there are a lot of naked women mostly
that's right.
taking baths, like herbal baths. We talked about that earlier, how they're all it'll be like, hey, take this bath with these herbs in it, and this is what it'll do for you. Like, kind of weird.
Right.
But there's some cosmological ones as well. These are more obscure, kind of those circular, weird pattern ones. And it actually, the website where I was reading about this references the page with the 9 islands that we were looking at.
Oh, yeah.
They call them rosettes, and they're connected by causeways that contain castles. So they also think that they could be volcanoes or something like that. But then there's 34 pharmaceutical folios. So those also are kind of herbal. They relate to plants, medicinal use of plants, or what they're thinking. You know, it's plants in jars, things like that. And then they've got what they theorize are recipes, and that's about 22 of the folios. And each of these recipes, interestingly enough, is marked with a star in the left-hand margin of the page.
It kind of looks like bullet points.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Which is interesting. But, like, also, along with those stars, those are throughout the entire book. I don't know if you've noticed that, but there are stars in a lot of the pictures.
Yeah.
Maybe not the plant ones, but, like, the ones with people in it. Like, they're holding stars. Also, what are these, like, machines and tubes that they're operating? Have you noticed those ones?
Yeah, like what page are you looking at?
Okay, so this one is, let's see, let me find the one I was looking at just a second ago. Let's see, page 140. It looks like there are 3 people at the top of the page, like, operating this tube machine or something like that, and I have no idea what that is. So
this is one that they theorize is the shape of a female reproductive system.
I could see that.
Which, I mean, you've got naked ladies in there, so it makes sense.
Well, there's naked ladies like in every page.
Every page, yeah. But yeah, it is funky though. Like, it's not exactly how we see the diagrams today. But
I found the Pisces page. Bunch of people in trash cans.
What's that one?
127.
127.
Everybody's just kind of like slurking out of a trash can, it looks like.
That's weird. So one thing I noticed is a lot of the stars on here are 8-pointed stars. Some of them aren't, but many of them are 8-pointed stars. And that it's been used in, it's called an octagram. It's been used in a lot of different cultures, like Buddhism, Egyptian, Babylonian, some Wiccan cultures even use it, Judeo-Christian. So it's been used in a lot of different cultures throughout history. But they theorize that the 8-pointed star is something that allows us to see past our earthly world and kind of explore more of a spiritual meaning to things. And so it's interesting that they use that 8-point star. So they think that the 4 corners, so north, south, east, and west, and then the 2 equinoxes of the world are associated with kind of the diagonal ones as well. But it's been used in, around the world. So it's got meaning for a lot of different people, but it seems that the consistency in using it is more of a spiritual type thing. So I just thought that was interesting. Some of them are, but some of them are not.
Right.
It's just so weird that everyone's like holding the stars on a string. Like that same page where everyone's coming out of the garbage cans. Yeah. There's 2 fish in the middle, and they have strings going into their mouths that are connected. I've noticed that too.
They're like every string, every star is attached to a string, and then I saw that with the fish as well, and I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, it is strange, and
like here's a cluster of 7 stars that is connected to a string. Like, I don't understand. And what I think is just hilarious is how much, noise this has made in like the scientific, historical community. Mm-hmm. And I just think it would be hilarious if it was like a children's book.
a giant shiz post.
Oh yeah, like we finally decode it, and it's just like some guy's journal or something, being like, "My life sucks" over and over again, or something like that. It would just be so funny. But there are other people that say, like, you know, it could have some helpful information about what happened in the past, or like what we could be doing better, kind of thing. And and then there are other people that say it's nothing. Like, it is actually nothing. The person that wrote it was just writing down nonsense. And
go on.
I was just gonna say, there's really no way for us to know.
So the way that the book is written, and I mentioned earlier how with vellum you can kind of scrape off your mistakes on the pages, right? And that was really common practice to do that, because when you're writing with a quill, obviously you don't have an eraser,
right?
And you make any mistake, you got to scrape it off. With this book, they have found zero evidence of that being done. And so what that would say is that either A, the person that wrote it had super detailed notes beforehand of exactly what they were doing, or B, it was all made up on the
they
all the way through.
To make any changes because it was all mistakes.
Yeah. And so that's like the theory pointing to it just being a giant hoax is, they didn't make any changes to it or anything. So I thought that was really interesting, but it would be funny. Like, I don't know if you've ever seen the episode of Family Guy where they go, so like all the guys go on a search for the origin of the world's dirty jokes.
Oh yeah, I have.
And they go to like the dirty joke, like fortress on that island. And there's this old guy who's like, I finally did it. I wrote the world's best joke. And like the whole place burns down and they get the joke. And it's like, guess what? Chicken butt or something like that. And it would be really funny, like you said, if it was just a giant like joke of a thing and we try to search for all this meaning in it and it's like nothing.
Man, I'm looking at these flowers though, and I wish some of these were real, because they are some crazy looking plants.
It is pretty cool. Like, it's if it's a hoax, someone went to so much effort to do this.
Lengths. Yeah, like this had to have taken months to write, kind of thing.
What I thought was interesting. Oh, sorry, go on.
No, you're good. I was done there.
So I mentioned how some of the pages had bugs in them, like holes from bugs. And so I learned, I don't know if the Yale library where the book is still does this, the Voynich library, but back in the 70s, at least it started in the 70s, they had a practice of when they would get a book in, especially from Europe, they would freeze the book for 3 days because it would usually have bugs in the book that would eat the pages and the bindings. So they would freeze the books at like 30 degrees for 3 days to kill all the bugs. And then they would bring the books back up to temperature. So this book was frozen for 3 days and then brought back to temperature, which I thought was funny. I don't know if they still do that, but you can't really use like chemicals on a book that old. You don't know what it's going to do. But the library is crazy too. They have like super crazy fire suppression systems that they use to suck all the oxygen out of the building. And
hopefully you're not in there when that happens.
Yeah. Yeah. But I thought that was kind of a funny fact that they freeze books for 3 days and then So
this has been, I mean, reportedly decoded many times, but every time it's been like debunked, saying no, you're completely wrong. But I mean, I don't know how they know that they're wrong, kind of thing, and I don't know how you would know if you're right. Like this, I don't think there is a way to know.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting to me, so the text, all the text in the book, there's about 170,000 characters, or I guess we could say letters in the book total.
Okay.
And how it's divided out, like it looks like it's divided out into words, right? There's spaces between groups of these characters. And so it's divided out into roughly 35,000 groups of basically 35,000 words, and just over 8,000 of those are considered unique. So there's over 8,000 unique words, but a lot of them, I mean, if we do the math, each of those words is used roughly at least 4 times throughout the text.
Okay, so there's repeating words, which makes it a little bit harder to just gibberish, I guess. Also, I don't know if you've noticed this, but if you zoom in on, like, you can tell, like, when sentences, quote unquote, begin, because like it looks like they're using capital letters at the beginning of some of these words. But what I'm not noticing is punctuation. I guess that wasn't a thing.
Right. Well, yeah, there's no punctuation, but like you said, you can kind of tell. It is interesting that it is divided out into words, and also they follow similar organizations. Like the words follow similar organizations with how characters are organized. So some of the characters never follow certain other characters. Some are doubled, some are tripled, but others are never doubled or tripled. And one of the main things with like cryptography, you're trying to break codes, is you find the most common letters that are used, to make up words, and that typically corresponds with the letter E, which is the most common used letter in English, but they haven't been able to do that at all. They have some that they've theorized go with specific letters, but also they've seen that some of the characters are similar enough that they think some of them could be capital and some of them could be lowercase. So, for example, like the letter A, there's one that looks like the letter A, and the lowercase one looks pretty much like a letter A in English, but then the uppercase one just has like a line going off the top right. So they think that could be an uppercase A. But there's also a lot of letters that they don't have any theory of it corresponding to any of the characters. So it's been really hard to decode. And what I thought was crazy is I don't know who hired these people to try and decipher the book, but a lot of World War II cryptographers and like code breakers were hired to try and figure it out. So,
including that one they did a movie on with
Alan Turing. Yep.
Yeah, Alan Turing worked on it. That's right.
Yeah, so a lot of like military code breakers that were just genius minds were hired, and they couldn't do anything with it. So I find that interesting that they kind of think they know some of the letters, and some of them look similar to English letters, and the organization of them is similar. Like if it were gibberish, you would think there wouldn't be any organization to how the characters are laid out in the words, but there's some kind of organization there, which I thought was pretty cool. And it's debated who wrote the book. They call it the Voynich Manuscript because Wilfred Voynich acquired the book in 2012 or in 1912, and was kind of the one that brought it to the world, right? But there's been a lot of people that have actually owned the book. The first known owner being Rudolph II, who he was the king of. He's actually the Holy Roman Emperor in the 16th century, but then he was the king of Hungary and what was known as Bohemia at the time. He was like a king. He was an archduke. He was the Holy Roman Emperor. He was a lot of things. But he was supposedly the first owner, and then it was sold by him to his friend Raphael Minshovsky for 600 ducats. I don't know what that is, but it's like 66.42 ounces of gold, I think.
Dang,
is the calculation. So that's a lot of money.
That's a decent amount of money.
Let's see, what's an ounce of gold today? Let's see.
$1,400, I want to say.
So 66.42 ounces of gold would be about 134 grand.
Oh, it's way off then.
$134,659.
Wow.
So that's quite a bit of money for a book. Which to me says there's got to be some value to it, right? What's interesting is that Rudolph II was king and emperor over a lot of different cultures. So the Holy Roman Emperor, then he was king of Hungary and Croatia, king of Bohemia, the Archduke of Austria. So he's over all these areas in Europe. But what if all of those cultures had different languages or different written, like different ways of writing? And that when he was king, maybe they all kind of came together and adopted a new system of writing or something. I don't know. But So then from there, they were speculating that it was written by a friar named Roger Bacon, so this was Rudolph and his friend Minshovsky were thinking that Roger Bacon, who lived in the 1200s, wrote this. But no one really took it seriously until Wilfrid Voynich came along, and he tried to confirm it and said it was possible that Roger Bacon was the author, but they also thought maybe a man named Saint Albert the Great or Albertus Magnus could have been the author. He was a bishop in the Catholic Church. He was a scientist, lived around the same time as Roger Bacon as well. So it's interesting that at the time in the 1600s, these guys that had the book were thinking that somebody in the 1200s wrote it, but now we've carbon dated it to the 1400s. So there's a lot of different history going around about the book, and a lot of different people over the years owned it. It kind of got passed through some different colleges and things like that. One of the main theories was that Voynich made it all up and did it himself. So just as a book dealer,
get money.
Yeah, boost his business, right? Because he's a book dealer, and if he's got this crazy cool manuscript, people are going to come. Which he actually had some really rare books. So he had a Bible that was called the Manelli Bible. I got to look it up real quick. It was the Bible that the first Bible that was translated from Latin to Italian. So he had that Bible. So super rare book, crazy, sought after, crazy valuable. He had some really cool stuff. So maybe he did it to boost his business. Who knows? But Rudolph II could have authored it. This guy in the 12th century, Roger Bacon, could have done it. Some people even think that Queen Elizabeth I of England could have written it or been part of it. There's a lot of different theories, but we don't know, right? We have no idea who really did it. What's interesting, there's a man named Jacobus Sinapius, and his real name is Jacob. Don't say this name too slowly. Jacob Horshitsky of Tepenik. So Horshitsky of Tepenik, which Tepenik was a place in, I believe, kind of the Hungary area. But his Latin name was Jacob Sinapius. And Sinapius, I think, meant, what did it mean? It was it was mustard. I knew it was some kind of food.
Mustard.
Yeah, so Jacobus Sinapius. And I don't know if his family made mustard or something, but that was in the Czech language. It means mustard. So that was kind of funny. But so they discovered that his name, they used UV light on the book pages to discover that his name is actually inscribed on one of the pages, but you can't see it unless you're looking at it with UV light. So I don't know what kind of ink it was written in, or if it's just like the indentation left by a quill with no ink or something. But his name is inscribed on at least one of the pages, showing that he could have been the author too. And he lived in the 1500s to 1600s. So around the time that Rudolph II was alive as well and was in possession of the book. So kind of crazy that you'd see this guy's name popping up on pages only under UV light. Like that's like some Da Vinci Code type stuff.
Oh yeah.
That's kind of crazy, but we don't know, right? There's really no way to know who made it. And I think that's one of the coolest things about it is that no one's been able to really figure out anything about it, like any meaningful thing about what it's saying.
I'm fairly convinced it's nothing.
I kind of am too. I feel like we would have deciphered it by now, or that there would have been more knowledge about the book if it really was that important of a book.
Also, the fact that the plants drawn are basically non-existent, like almost all of them are like never before seen or like kind of not even possible.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That's my guess, but
it is crazy. I heard I heard this theory that there was a guy, I don't remember his name, so I heard this theory on a couple podcasts I listened to, but there was this guy who was like part of a king's court. Maybe it was Rudolph II's court, but he claimed to have the power of speaking with angels. And so the theory was that he wrote the book, and it's like from the tongues of angels, right?
Oh.
It's in their language. And so he would like receive revelation from these angels, or they'd speak to him, and then he'd write it down and draw it. So that's one thought, is that it's like heavenly interaction. But all the podcasts I listened to were like, this guy was just bullcrapping, and he had to like keep up his lie. So he just made up gibberish and like wrote this whole book to make everyone believe that he spoke with angels. So
sounds about right.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say that it's completely a hoax because of the complexity of it.
Oh yeah, dude, like it's insane.
I wouldn't even type out 240 pages of a hoax, like let alone handwrite and draw stuff. But it doesn't. I really feel like people from history, like there would have been more people that knew about the book or knew what it was saying. We would have found something by now to like give us more meaning to it if it was really
maybe this thing. Guy, maybe it's not a hoax, and this guy was trying to make his own language, and it just did not take off.
Yeah. I did do some research on languages, and so there's around 6,000 spoken languages on Earth today, but every 20 years a language dies out. Or was it every 20 years? So it was every 20 years languages die out. So or no, I'm way wrong. It was every 14 days a language dies out.
Whoa.
So by next century, over half of the languages, 6,000 to 7,000 languages that speak on Earth, are going to disappear. So if you think a few centuries back, that could be thousands of more languages that were spoken that insane. Have all died out. You know, so that is a big like evidence to me that it could be legit. But I feel like we would have found other stuff in the same language.
You would think, but who knows?
Yeah. Well, it is really cool. So we do definitely recommend you go check it out. The pictures on Yale's website are really good and very clear.
Like you can zoom in and read the whole thing if you want. Good luck.
Yeah.
But
someone go try and translate it from Elvish, because it really does look like Elvish.
It seriously looks just like the writing on the One Ring to Rule Them All. Like pretty spot on.
Yeah. This is fun though, and like I said, I mentioned earlier that I'd been watching a show called White Collar. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but
I have not. But I know of it.
Part of the main storyline is that one guy is trying to steal this codex called the Moscone Codex, and it's basically based on the Voynich Manuscript, right? It's this old like codex that was written in ancient Italy that had all this information about pharmaceuticals and recipes and things like that in it that's really valuable. And so like part of multiple episodes is them stealing this codex. And yeah, so it's kind of cool that it's had like an effect in pop culture too. But I've heard a lot about it over the years and never really dove into it until now, but it's just crazy. I don't know how else to describe it other than that it's like kind of insane that someone wrote all that and drew it out.
Definitely.
Well, any other thoughts or anything else you want to add to the Voynich Manuscript?
I got nothing. It's a mystery.
I hope that it's solved someday, but also I'm like, maybe it should just stay a mystery too, because it's such a cool.
Oh yeah, that's what's
cool thing.
You know, if it was solved a long time ago, then nobody would have cared about it. The fact that it can't be solved is why everyone, is interested.
Right. And a lot of people have claimed to solve it, but haven't really been able to back up their claims. So who knows? We'll see. I guess time will tell if it really ever gets solved and what it says. All those naked ladies in there have to mean something.
Oh, yeah. You would think.
Well, thanks for tuning in. And if you guys have any other information on the Voynich Manuscript, let us know. Again, go check it out. Tell us what you think of the pages and if you have any theories on what it is. And also, let us know what you want to hear in upcoming episodes.
Thank you so much for listening. And we'll catch you in the next one.
We love you guys.